Alrighty, hello there, friendly people. I would like to give you a quick demonstration of a patch for DWM, our beloved window manager, called the Dynamic Swallow patch, which brings you scriptable window swallowing, essentially, right? And it goes something like this. Whenever you're working away in your terminal or in a terminal application, sometimes you have to open a GUI window, right? Which always opens a separate window, okay? Like this one, the SXIV image viewer. And this might be desirable unless it's not. And this patch essentially gives you the choice of when to reuse the terminal window. If I press enter now, it's gonna give me a full terminal preview of the image. And if I use another hotkey, it's just gonna open a separate window, okay? And of course this is not restricted to image previews at all. We can use Sathura opening up a PDF in a separate window, okay? Again, close it and then open it inside the terminal, okay? Let's watch Richard Stallman dance once more. This time, okay. This will open a separate window, that's the default behavior, okay? And if I want to see Richard Stallman in his full glory using the full area of the terminal window, I can do so, okay? Beautiful, isn't it? Man, that's creepy. Anyway, okay, cool. So that's a quick demonstration. Let's have another one. Let's browse the suckless.org website using full screen terminal preview. Not full screen, but full area terminal browser previews. You get the point. Okay. So that's window swallowing for you, basically, to have a dynamic window swallowing, as I call it, to have the choice of when to swallow and what to swallow. Okay. If you're interested, keep looking. I'm gonna walk you through exactly how to do it. Okay. Okay, cool. First things first, you of course need to have the patch applied, and I'll give you some hints at the end of the video if you're struggling with that. Okay, and I'll show you now exactly how to swallow something like the SXIV image preview. Okay, if I do this, it's going to open in a separate window, and I would like to configure a window swallow to make my terminal swallow the window preview. Okay, now the patch contains a tool called the DWM swallow. It has a usage help string. You can use that, and for this example we just need this signature. Okay, this allows us to queue a window as a swallower for some window which will spawn in the future. Okay, the swallower for this example will be this terminal, the one terminal right here I'm working in, and the window which I want to swallow within my swallower is this SXIV terminal preview, which the next instance. Not this one, I'm going to close it in a second, but if I open it again, I want it to appear sort of on top of the terminal. Okay, now first things first, we have to find out the window ID of my terminal. There are two ways to go about doing that. First of all, exit tool, select window. I'll just do the pedestrian style for this example, and we get the window ID. Okay, for this terminal. So that's the unique identifier for this window. And next thing to do is we need to find out the the window properties for my SXIV image previewer. Okay, and I'm going to do that using xprop. However, xprop prints you a million lines of information, and we only need some portions of that. So we filter using grep for WM class and WM name, right? Click on the window and we get what we need. Okay, the stuff referring to WM class is the instance, the window instance name, and the window class name. Okay, class name is basically the program name with a capital S. That's usually what the convention is. And the window title in this case is SXIV. So SXIV does not set the window title to reflect the path of the image it's currently previewing. Some programs do that, like Sathura. Okay, so all we need is the class name, right? Which we will put into here. Okay, so if I want to use DWM swallow to configure my terminal, this terminal right here, to swallow the next instance of SXIV, I'm gonna just hack in all the information we have just acquired, SXIV, okay, and press enter, and now everything is configured. I can now close this SXIV window. And due to this command, next time I'll open SXIV, this window right here will swallow the SXIV window, and this window happens to be my terminal. So if I now open SXIV, boom, you get the full screen, or full terminal area image preview. Okay, so that's the basic example. Okay, there are, of course, more economic ways to do that. First and foremost, most terminals export an environment variable which just contains the terminal's window ID already. Okay, so we don't need to retrieve that either automatically by a script walking up the process tree for my shell until I encounter the next terminal, or interactively like I've done here. Okay, with xdo2, we can just simply reuse the window ID environment variable. Okay, so to abbreviate stuff, to do the same thing a little faster, would be like so. Window ID. Okay, that's the swallow. That's my terminal, and I'll just omit all filters for now, because I only need filters if if the option exists that in between firing this command and calling the program which I want to be swallowed, or whose window I want to be swallowed, another window opens, okay, intercepting my swallow. But this never happened to me, so you can just omit that if you're executing your program immediately after that. So doing it like so will swallow my window immediately. Okay, and this is, of course, as I said, independent of the program. Let's go with Zathura once more. Full screen swallow. Okay, and if I don't queue the swallow, it does not swallow the window as it ought to. Okay, just going to open a separate window. Cool. Now, when I work in the shell, I have, of course, keybinds for that. So if I press, if I enter something, I press enter, the default accept line, and execute. It's going to create a separate window. However, if I press Control X and enter, it's going to basically, it's going to give me the full swallow, right? And it basically does exactly that. It just prefaces the execution of whatever I have typed into my line with DWM swallow with the window ID. Okay, so that's the the interactive fast way to do it. Once more, let's have an example with Fasa here. Yeah, let's have Richard Stallman dance once more. Pressing enter is going to open a separate window. Okay, pressing Control X, enter in my case, is going to open the swallow. Okay, pretty neat. Yeah, now the whole point of this is that this is fully scriptable. Okay, and yeah, let's have another example. Let's use another filter. We have only used the class title so far. Okay, and let's do this again with Zathura. Let's open a PDF. However, I want to make sure that the swallowing only happens if one specific file is opened. Okay, so I'm going to shorten things up a little bit. The class title for Zathura Windows is capital Z Zathura, as it ought to, and Zathura has sets the window title to the path of the file it's currently viewing. I'm not going to show you that. You can ascertain that for yourself using xprop, like we did somewhere. Yeah, xprop. And I have a file prepared in temp. It's called book.pdf, just as a showcase. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I mistyped it. It's not window, but window ID. Now, okay, we have now queued this terminal to swallow the next instance of Zathura, which opens this specific PDF. Okay, so if I am to open the xlib programming manual here in my directory, it's going to open in a separate window. Okay, because the swallow does not match. This window's properties do not match the filters which I have set using DWM swallow. Okay, however, if I open this file for which I have set the filters, boom, it's going to open inside my terminal. Okay, so that's just another PDF. Okay, and if I close Zathura, pressing Q, I get my terminal back. Okay, so that's pretty neat. Nice. All right, let's close this one down here. Next example, that would be the LaTeX preview. Cool. Okay. Now, suppose you're working in some sort of compiled document. Okay, so I use LaTeX as an example. Any sort of document which has a compiled version, right? Which is essentially some sort of descriptive code or markup language. This is a LaTeX file, and usually you have some sort of image or compilation command and image preview. I'll just stay with the image preview right now, or with the preview of the compiled version, right? In my case, it's simply a PDF. It's called what is it called? Excuse me. Oh, drawing.pdf. My bad. So Thura drawing.pdf. Okay, if I hack that in, that's basically as if I had entered that into the shell, and I get the separate window, right? Default behavior. And this is annoying sometimes. In this case, it is annoying. As you can see, I need the window space. Okay, the preview is too narrow. Okay, it cuts off the edges. Now, what can we do? We do exactly the same thing which we have done before. We hack in the exact same commands. I queue a swallow of this particular terminal using the window ID environment variable, and the good thing is about environment variables is that they get inherited to any child process, right? So the terminal gives that to my shell, and the shell gives that to NeoVim in my case, right? So it's available in NeoVim as well. Now DWM swallow, and what do I want to do? I want to use Zathura to preview my drawing. Okay, if I do this, boom, I get the full screen swallowed preview. Okay, and yeah, to make it more comfy, of course, we bind keys. Let's use F6. Yeah, DWM swallow, window ID, and then Zathura drawing.pdf, map the carriage return, boom. Okay, if I now press F6, I get the full screen preview. Okay, let's do this also for, let's also do this for F5 using the non-swallow preview. Would be something else. I messed up, my bad. Sorry. F5 and just drawing. Sorry. First video ever, bear with me. Drawing.pdf. Okay, cool. If I now press F5, you get the separate window. This might be desirable in some cases, right? You're not forced to have the window swallowed. But sometimes I want the full screen preview, which I get pressing F6. Okay, so you see how easily this is configured and integrated into your existing workflows. It's just basically one simple shell command to fire. Yeah, okay, and yeah, this is relevant for any kind of compiled document. I use it all the time. So fair enough. As a more general point, I think window swallowing just, it sort of integrates terminal workflows with GUI applications, because there was always something which annoyed me whenever I was working in a terminal, which I prefer, or using text-based stuff. If at the end of my chain of command there was some sort of GUI application, it always pops up in the wrong place. Okay, especially when you're using tiling window managers, right? And yeah, I feel that this patch, this window swallowing, scriptable window swallowing, gives you a choice, or gives you the option to integrate terminals, terminal workflows, TUIs, with graphical applications. Okay, and another example for you while we're here. This is LF. This is a terminal image previewer. It's a file manager which is compatible with Überzug if you're happy to do some hacking. And now usually when you open the program, it's going to spawn inside a separate window, which, as I said, might be desirable, and sometimes it's not. And using the same commands as before, just eliciting DWM swallow window ID prior to opening the program, will simply open it inside the terminal once more. Okay, so this integrates graphical applications very beautifully into your terminal workflow. Okay, another example, let's watch the brainlets. If I press enter, it's going to open on top of the terminal, inside the terminal, right? And same stuff for the xlib. Okay, pretty neat, I think, right? One more example. Some guy on the Suckless Reddit posted a script which he wrote, which I found pretty neat. Basically allows you to fill in a search mask, and the script will return results from YouTube and give you a D menu prompt, okay, to choose a video and watch inside MPV, sort of streamed, right? And yeah, I modified that a little bit because I wanted image previews, and it's called dmenyt.sh. And if I now search for Tom and Jerry, okay, I basically get some sort of, yeah, well, this is a hack around LF, which yeah, gives you sort of a D menu-esque prompt with image previews, okay. And if I now press enter, I get the full screen stream once it's loaded. There you go, okay. And yeah, you get the idea. That's pretty neat. So this interface is just very well with graphical applications. Let's have one more. Let's search for Linus Torvalds. Is that how you spell his name? Okay, yeah, there you go. That's the thumbnail. Is there? Where's NVIDIA? Fuck you. There, NVIDIA. Fuck you. I think you won't be able to hear the audio. I haven't connected that with my recording. Anyway, okay, so that's another neat example. I like it. Okay, cool. So one more thing, or one more example. This whole window swallowing stuff is of course not restricted to terminals. You can make swallow one window any other way, or swallow any other window. Okay, and I have an example here for you, which is a workaround for something which has always annoyed me with this particular program, which is called Anki. It's basically a flashcard system. Details are irrelevant. Whenever you want to add a card, a separate window is spawned in which you can enter the front and back side of the flashcard, basically. Okay, and as you can see, this program forces me to stare at this left idle window, which does absolutely nothing, taking away precious screen real estate from me, which is a problem if you're having another browser open to search for images of dogs, if I'm trying to learn what dog means in Japanese. And yeah, I don't have enough space to basically see anything which goes on the front and back side of my card. So what do? We script in window swallowing, okay? The pedestrian way, once more, just to make sure you get what I'm trying to tell you. First and foremost, we need to find out this Windows ID, because I want this window, the left one, this where my mouse is, to swallow this one on the right the next time I open it, okay? So we do do tool, select window, okay? And I want this Windows ID, right? So, okay, so that's the window ID of my main window, and I now want xprop. I want the window name and the window titles, okay, of this window which is to be swallowed. Okay, so by the way, the window doing the swallowing, the window which disappears or is hidden behind, is called the swallower. Okay, and the window which gets swallowed, which gets to use the first Windows screen space, is the swallowee. Okay, so swallower and swallowee, just as an employer and employee. Okay. Now, this the swallowee's window is class is Anki, capital A, and the window title is ed. Okay, so let's hack all that information in. DWM swallow. Oops. We want to make this window swallow the next window, which matches class name Anki and the window title ed. Okay. Now, let's try what happens if I open the ed menu. Boom, full screen preview. Okay, I get the full window size. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted, right? And yeah, so the swallowing thing is not restricted to terminals at all. Okay, now I did not. This does not work again. Okay, you need to do that. You need to basically do this anytime, but this wouldn't be a problem, as this program Anki is just it's written in Python. And you can just intercept the call to the routine, which gets executed whenever you press on this ed knob to basically just fire off these commands. Okay, it's no problem to find out your Windows ID from inside the application. So you can basically just slide this line of shell script somewhere into the execution of the code. Okay. Alrighty, fair enough. I think that's about it with examples. Let me have a look at my notes. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, there's some more features, miscellaneous feature I'm gonna show you. Another thing which I occasionally use, not every time, is something like, like this. Sometimes you want to start up an application, like in this case, and you want to see the startup sequence, okay, because it might contain valuable information about the program state or the files you open, like some font thing failed a million times over, which is essential information for me, telling me that some font thing failed. And sometimes I use that and have a quick look just to ascertain that the application is opening properly. And once I'm done, I don't need the terminal anymore. Of course, I can close the terminal because it'll kill the window, it'll kill the application I've started. So I just drag and drop the swallow E on top of the terminal, right? The application window on top of the terminal, pressing mod, shift, and mouse 1, and just drag and dropping it on top of the terminal. And this basically just makes the terminal window swallow the application window. Okay, so that's a manual way to swallow existing windows. Okay, and you can also do that, yeah, by using scripts. Okay, using the DWM swallow. Okay, so this would be this signature right here. Okay, we have always used this one up until so far to queue a window to swallow some future window, and if you want to control window swallowing between already existing windows, okay, you'll use this signature right here. Okay, have a look into the patch notes and use what's it called? Yeah, well, anyway, just read the help string. So that's one thing. Now you can of course abort window swallowing. So whenever I swallow something, let's do this again. Zathura xlib. Okay. If I swallow a window, I can of course make the choice to make the swallower, the terminal in this case, reappear. If I just press mod U, it's just gonna pop up the terminal back in, and the swallow is cancelled, sort of. Okay. So that's of course a new choice. And swallow, you can nest swallowing up to arbitrary depths. So you can have 3 windows on top. A terminal swallows Zathura, and then Zathura spawn another terminal to select another file or something like that. It's just works, yeah, works perfectly. Okay. All right. So far for the patch. If you're interested, keep watching. I'll give you a few notes of information about the patch itself. There might be some things which would be interesting for you to know. The first one would be that in order to elicit commands from the shell to do something within DWM, we need to have some sort of inter-process communication. Okay, if you have a sophisticated build of DWM, of course use your pathways of communication. Use whatever IPC mechanisms your build already contains. Okay, in order for this patch to be self-contained, I chose the fake signal patch. To be included, the fake signal patch into this dynamic swallow patch, which is some sort of inter-process communication mechanism, which just which uses the root Windows name. Basically, if you format the root Windows name, which is usually the stuff displayed in the status bar in DWM, if that thing is configured. If that thing uses a specific syntax, you can make DWM to reinterpret that stuff as a command. So that's the basic idea. And yeah, it's very simple. If you have no IPC mechanisms, just use this one. It's very lightweight, simple, and you can extend it very easily. Okay, so that's that point is important. If you have an IPC mechanism, I mean, you may start out with the fake signal stuff. It's not going to interfere with your existing IPCs, but eventually you'll want to transition and reuse your IPC mechanisms. Now, concerning the patch notes itself, the patch is large in lines of code. However, most of the stuff is just completely separate from the existing code, and it will not interfere with anything else. Most of the stuff which does change existing code just refers to a little addition I had, or I did make in the patch, which revolves around the additional field which every client gets. It's the swallowed by field, right? That's if that field is not null, it indicates that this client, the window that this client refers to, is being swallowed by some other one. Okay. And if the client is zero, if the swallowed by field is null, the client is basically a regular client, not involved in any kind of swallow. Okay. And so out of this configuration, there arise three types of clients. The one is just the regular normal client, which we already know, which is basically the existing DWM clients. And then there's the swallow V, so the window which is being swallowed and visible, the Zathuras and MPVs and SXIV windows, which I showed you. And the swallower is the one doing the swallowing, so the terminals in most of the examples I showed you. Okay, and the predominant majority of additions to which the patch brings you is just simply self-contained lines of code like this one. And where that's not the case, the changes are simply due to the transition of Win2Client to Win2Client2. Okay. Win2Client is a function which retrieves, which given a window ID retrieves the corresponding client in DWM. Okay, and as this patch has to separate the behavior of regular clients, swallowees and swallowers, I need to make adjustments to this Win2Client behavior. Okay, and this is exactly what Win2Client2 does, and that's basically all there is to it. Okay. So most of the changes, most of the invasive changes done by the patch are due to the change from of Win2Client to Win2Client2, and that's confusing. So it was Win2Client, it is now Win2Client2. Okay, as you can see here. Okay, that's the first choice, first change. Now once again, Win2Client, it is now Win2Client2. Okay, that draws the symbol. You can omit that. Oh, I haven't shown you that. Excuse me, my bad. Or did I? I'm not sure. If I swallow something, like this, Zathura xlib, okay. Whenever a window is swallowed, you see a little symbol being drawn next to the layout symbol, okay. You can of course omit that. I use that. It's an indicator for me too, which tells me that basically there's some other application waiting until the one you're viewing currently is finished. Okay. That's the symbol stuff. Self-contained code, that's the fake signal implementation which I told you about. Self-contained function. Here's another change. Win2Client, it is now Win2Client2. Okay. Minor changes. Now million lines of self-contained functions do not interfere with DWM at all. Okay. Minor change. Again, Win2Client, now Win2Client2. Okay. This is some change, and self-contained function, and that's basically the script. That's also all of it is self-contained. Okay. So lines of code are large, but the line count is large of the patch, but it doesn't add much complexity, if any at all. Okay. So that's it from my side. Thanks for listening, and please do give me feedback if you happen to have your curiosity have been roused. Install the patch it in, and give me feedback. Until then, happy hacking.